A lot of systems are sold by people who don't use them. It's all very same sort of thing, vertical scrolling, boring. It's going to come and take our jobs. No, it's not going to take your jobs. It's going to make you produce a lot more better stuff. Change is uncomfortable. People don't like change. If you change, then you've got to learn new ways of working, and then you've got to get the people to adapt those things, and people don't like that. You can give someone a paintbrush and easel, but it doesn't make them an artist. I don't think there is a substitute for a face-to-face teacher, and unfortunately in class sizes of 30 people you don't have face-to-face teachers.
Hello and welcome to EdTech Dots. Today's guest is Emil Elchanan, founder of Open eLMS, a designer and ergonomist who has been working on human-centered learning systems and AI for decades. His Open eLMS YouTube channel has already passed 100,000 subscribers. And in this episode, we talk about what is still broken in eLearning, why so many LMS platforms feel harder than they should, how AI is changing the way learning systems are built, and why the future of education may depend on making high-quality learning far more accessible around the world. But before we start, please like the episode and subscribe to both channels. That helps us grow, share more valuable ideas in education, and invite even bigger guests to the podcast. Let's begin. Your background gives you a different lens from many people building in this space. When you look at today's learning products, what bad habits or blind spots do you notice immediately?
Yeah, I mean, my background's in ergonomics, human factors design, what makes things easy to use and successfully used by the human in the human-machine interface. What I see a lot of is a lot of the same thing. I see a lot of there's two factors to this. There's the learning management system design, and then there's the e-learning design. Now, and this is my own personal point of view, brought out of 35 years of experience. Is it right or wrong? In my opinion, it's obviously right, but that's everything subjective. E-learning design is very much created through the products that create it. So basically, you just see pages and pages and pages of scrolling text, vertically scrolling text, using effects that are just websites. They're website effects. There's no real ingenuity there, and it's not something that's basically necessarily the fault of any e-learning designer. It's the tools that they're using. They're not freeform. You can't move stuff around the screen. You haven't got a sort of a blank slate in which to design on. You're basically constrained by this vertical scrolling website paradigm. It was brought in because basically people are obsessed with accessibility, and rightly so. We need to make our websites accessible, but there are other ways of doing it. You can do it in a freeform paradigm, and the two major developers of e-learning, Captivate and Articulate, have produced these. I mean, particularly Articulate Rise has produced this paradigm of learning, which is very samey, very boring. And there's one thing about human factors design, then application of psychology to any human interface, is that you need variety, you need salience, you need things to stick out, you need something that goes, oh, that's different. I mean, if you spot a pink cow in a field, you remember that over all the other black and white cows in the field. There are no there's very few pink cows in that field of e-learning design. It's all very same sort of thing, vertical scrolling, boring. So that's my opinion. Again, subjective, but that's my opinion of learning design. And we know we've done studies on our own stuff. We use a different paradigm, and we've had 99.2% approval rates over this type of e-learning design. You just basically got to make it look a bit different and use a bit of design ingenuity. And I know not everyone's got that, and not everyone in L&D has that. But I think they've been trained to be constrained. Really, would be my call on that. Now there are people who are going to kind of go, yes, I produce wonderful stuff in Articulate Rise, and here it is. And yeah, great. That's great. But, yesterday I was on the Articulate's website and I was looking at the first Rise example. And this is obviously brand new, and it hasn't changed in the last 7, 8 years. It's exactly the same stuff. Come on, guys, you got all the money, you got all the power, you got all the influence. Do something. Make some good tools to create some good e-learning. Um, that'd be my bugbear about e-learning design.
What would be your recommendation, like the practical?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say use my software, go to OpenELMS and use Learning Generator. That's what I would say. But then I would be completely biased, so you can take that or leave that. Free trial, fully working, 7 days, produce that e-learning.
All right. So why is it better then?
It's better because it's okay. Let's start up with the whole process of e-learning. How to develop e-learning. You talk to your subject matter experts. You write a document. It contains all the content. And then you go through a series of meetings. You do some prototypes. You get that out, and then they go back and forth, and they pass and fail. And within 6 to 12 weeks, you've got an e-learning program. With this system, what you can do is you can upload the PDF, and it'll produce for you e-learning. And it's e-learning not like a vertical scrolling bit of nonsense. It's basically something that will can sit on a mobile. It can sit on a website. It's exactly the same, and it works in exactly the same way. It's like a video documentary. You got basically you go through it from start to finish. It's got virtual scenery, so it basically creates the background scene. It creates video presenters. It creates voiceover. It creates diagrams to represent the stuff you're talking about. I showed it to someone. Someone contacted me from Captivate. This was 2 years ago when it first came out. And although the system's been running for about 15 years, but it's only been AI enabled in the last couple of years. And they were just like agog, said, "Well, how is this possible? Why can't we do this?" And we had a discussion, and they can't do it because they were behemoth. They can't move. They can't be agile. They've got to basically do the same things the same way in order to keep and going, because once they change stuff, then there's a lot of customers there who are used to do things the same way. It's the problem of inertia. A lot of designers don't want to change and don't want to innovate.
Yeah, it sounds like a problem with change management, like everywhere, and like we're opposing the change every time it goes toward us, isn't it?
Change is uncomfortable. People don't like change. If you change, then you've got to learn new ways of working, and then you've got to, get the people to adapt those things. And people don't like that. There's a reason why. There's a reason why things don't change. There's a reason why most cars have 4 wheels, and most chairs have 4 legs. There's reasons for these things. But I think from basic human behavior, that the way that we learn is not augmented by the way that we're designing learning. Well, I was going to say that's the first issue. My first bugbear with the EdTech industry is the way that e-learning is designed. Before I go into that, just to say, other things about the way that we design is that people learn in different ways. E-learning is not necessarily the only way that people learn. I know my son, when he's revising for his exams, he did it exclusively on YouTube.
How old is your son?
Well, he's now 22, so he's now in the world of employment. But he did an A level, which is like the 18-year-old exams. And this is not a joke. He did an A level in English literature, and he had read at that time in his life 4 books. And 2 of them were I Am Number 8 series, and he did it all through YouTube. So there are ways that people engage with content that's different to the way that we do. So any of the learning that we produce, it can be exported as video games, arcade games. It can be exported as YouTube. It can be exported as a dialogue like this between 2 people. It can be exported as exported as mind maps or summaries or whatever. You've got that information. That information is the core knowledge that's spurt out into many different ways. Put it on your website. Put it on YouTube. Learning doesn't have to exist just on a learning management system. It can exist anywhere that people will need to learn it. There's a concept called signposting, which is the traditional way of learning. I don't know if you're familiar with this, Chris, but the traditional way of learning is people go to a learning management system, they learn, they fill their brains with learning, and then they get tested on it, and etc. They go off. Now, if you're teaching someone how to, I don't know, how to use a widget or a piece of software, why are we teaching them how to use that piece of software for that one time they might use it? Why not put that learning actually at the point of use? So it's like signposting. So basically, the paradigm is when you're going to, I don't know, a national park or something, you only need a signpost to tell you where the bears are. Actually, when you're in the signpost, you have to learn before you go to the national park where all the bears are. So this is something basically. Why don't we put learning where we need it? So it doesn't have to be in an LMS. So what we do with our learning management system is we allow people to basically put their e-learning or whatever that learning is anywhere they want to online, and then it will track back to the learning management system. So they don't have to actually go into the learning management system to do it. It's similar to something like YouTube. So when this is broadcast, you'll be able to see it in maybe on a website or not necessarily just in the YouTube system, but it will then track back to wherever you're wherever YouTube keeps all the numbers and stuff. So yeah, no, I digress, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can do with learning which we're not doing with learning because there's big behemoths out there doing the same thing badly.
In education, like there often seems to be an assumption that if the platform feels difficult or heavy, it must be professional. Like I have the notion like that. So why do you think that mindset has survived so long? Is it the same reason that we hate change, or maybe there's something more to it?
Yeah, I mean, this moves us onto onto systems, learning management systems in particular. Why are these things that still exist, things like Cornerstone, which I've seen and I've played around with, and I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of systems are sold by people who don't use them. There'll be people at a level above the people that use them that make the agreements. Wherever it is, boardroom, dining room, a golf course, whatever that is, they make those agreements. And the people that actually use them aren't the people that actually have a say on them. Now, that's not true in all cases, obviously. We do a lot of competitive tenders and we win a lot of competitive tenders because they're basically based on what your system does, how it does it, and then show it, which is the way you should be looking at software. But there was the name cache of, is it is it one of the big players? And then people go with that because no one's been sacked for using IBM. As the saying goes.
Yes.
But having said that, there's just a lot of really poor systems out there that I mean, this moves on the design of systems. A lot of these systems, and I would say,
Do you want to mention any names?
no, I can mention names, but I don't really know. The only one I really sort of played around with a lot is Cornerstone, so I will mention that quite a lot. I mean, not necessarily any bads on Cornerstone. I'm sure it's very common amongst a lot of systems out there. I mean, we don't look at other systems. We don't look at features in other systems and go, we'll design that. We basically use core ergonomic principles to design our stuff. So we basically we're very much client based and we're very much human factors based. So we use role based design. We look at the way people want to do things in the natural world and design our systems around them. So that's the way ergonomic design is task analysis. It's looking at the way people do things and matching the interface to that. So it's very easy to learn. It's a very natural way of using software.
It sounds difficult, but maybe that's the reason why it's not so popular, because it seems like you have to have some kind of a mystical knowledge and some kind of an intuition to design system like that.
Yes, I mean, there's not a lot of ergonomists working in software design. I can say that for a fact. I know when I graduated in the year I graduated, there was 50 ergonomists in my year in all 3 universities doing ergonomics in the country graduating. So extrapolate that to 35 years, and you've got, I don't know, 1,500 ergonomists, and most of those are working in safety
Sounds like a century.
and nuclear systems. Yeah. And some of those are probably less. So you got about 1,000 ergonomists, and probably who I have never met one working in software design. So it is quite unique. But also there's, if you look at a word processing piece of software, and then you look at another word processing stuff. I can't mention anyone. I would have to look at Word or look at Google's effort, Google Docs. They're very similar. They are very similar, and the reason why they're similar is two reasons. Firstly, people have done a lot of research into them, and they know how people would naturally use things. So there's a bit of ergonomics gone in there. But there's also, that's the way it's done. So if you're using Word and you suddenly use to go to Google Docs, you're going to want to know how to do the same thing. And I think learning management systems is a similar sort of process there. So people have used bad systems before. When they go to another system, they use bad systems. Those are the people that are making the decisions on purchasing those decisions on those things. People that move from Cornerstone to Totara or whatever. Having said that, the majority of the people using learning management systems, the learners, don't give a stuff. I mean, they can say an interface of one. They don't care whether they're using Totara. They just want to learn how to use it properly. Also managers as well. People outside the L&D remit. So I think good design and good ergonomic design is very, very important. And we've noticed over, we ourselves basically over the last couple of years, what we've done is we've basically produced a learning management system called OpenELMS. It's been going for 23 years. There's a free version online, and we have corporate enterprise versions. We sell to government, local government, internationally, etc. Now, this system is very, very much designed around ergonomic principles, and people that have it love it. Because it works naturally. There's no training needed. A manager picks it up and they can see all the tasks they need to do in the natural way they need to do it. They just press the button and follow the task. Now, a traditional learning management system will have, there's a system, there's a load of data, you sort it out. Now, things are changing. Now, we developed a system that looked like Netflix before Netflix came out. That's how long we've been going on for, since 2003. Because we considered that the best way to produce a learning management system. It was natural to us. And then, when video on demand systems came out, we'd tweak it a little bit so it looked similar. So there was that automatic connection of, I know how to use Netflix, I can use this learning management system. But that's just the user interface. And I think, there are, this concept of LXPs came out, which are basically a learning management system that's been designed quite well. That's all it is. There's no difference between LMS and LXP. It's just nonsense. I mean, it was a paradigm produced basically by big learning management system firms to say, well, we have an LMS, but we got an LXP too. So we're doing everything right, but also doing something else. They're not. They were just designing bad LMSs. Yeah, the LXP came out, and there are people now there are some firms. I've seen interfaces of some stuff which look fine. They look fine from a usability point of view, from the learner's aspect, but from the back end aspect, they're still, of what I've seen, they're still an absolute disaster. I mean, Cornerstone, a big FTSE 100 company in this country, they want to upload and this was certainly 3 years ago. It may have changed, but 2 years ago. But if they want to upload an e-learning course, they've got to go to India and they've got to wait 2 weeks for it to be uploaded. That's nonsense. How are you going to produce dynamic learning if that's the case and that's how you're running it? Because it's so complicated. Now, our LMS, because we have done so much, we've spent one single line of development over 23 years. Our stuff does everything. It does absolutely bloody everything. I mean, it doesn't tie shoelaces, but it does pretty much anything you can. So, we get a tender requirement. We look at it and go, yeah, we do that. There's no point in, you don't have to add anything. We just do it because we've been going through this process for years and years and years. As a result of which, despite no matter how well you can design something, it's bloody complicated in order to configure it and to set it up and it's complicated because this just does so much. So how do you know what this 680 features we have? How do you know which of those you want? And how do you know out of the 250 different properties you have that you're allowed to do on roles? How do you know how to set that up? Then how do you know all the other configurations? And how do you know the labeling and all that sort of stuff? How can you set it up yourself? You're going to be there for 3 months doing it. We know that because that's the way we used to do it. Now we've got an AI front end. We've got an AI front end on everything. We've got an AI front end of reporting, form production, and the setting up the system. And you just have a conversation. You say like, I'm a sales-based business. We do work in with FMCG companies. We want to integrate with Microsoft Word. We want to have Outlook notifications going two-way. And you do, you do this. You go through this whole process, and then it says, okay, fine. There's your system set up, and you've got to produce for your Gantt charts and all the project planning that you need as well. So basically, it's a way of making everything far more efficient.
Right. So do I get it right that you have like an AI agent configuring the system but instead of like I, I don't know, sales guy or IT guy configuring it for you?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So throughout the system, we have these AI agents that are plugged into the system, which will produce a report for you, produce a data dashboard for you, produce all these different things to tell you how to use the system. So it's not just like, oh, here's AI. Um, uh, it will tell you about the learning content, which we do as well. But it just helps you because the system is so big. It's, I mean, it's very much like Netflix. Netflix, the whole user experience is effortless. It's intuitive, but that's because there's a lot going on under the water. So there's a lot feeding everything to your algorithm. It's a lot giving stuff to you that you need and stuff. And our system's like that. It's massive, but you need that front end in order now to communicate with it, in order to make it simple. Um, I think it was a Gary Player said, he says, "Why are you so lucky and so good at golf?" And he said, "Well, the harder I work, the luckier I get." And that feeling of effortlessness is no mistake. That it's because there's so much that goes on behind, and in order to configure that properly, we need that layer of AI in order to help us do that. And any LMS that isn't doing that is going to be very hard to implement or very constrained in what it can do.
Seems like this AI layer was a game changer for you for your product. And from what you've speaking, it seems to me that you have to have some like secret sauce in your organization. How do you manage that? If the system is so enormous, so configurable, and how to say that, elastic maybe. How do you manage that? Meaning in the organization way. Maybe you have some kind of your rituals or recruitment methods that you find only the best talent on the market. Or is it your personality that brings all this together and as a gravity attracts people?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got very talented and excellent people that work for me.
Right. And the more you work, you get, the more lucky you get, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, people like to work for us because we're very flexible in working. We've been remote work. We moved from offices to remote work about 3 months before COVID hit. So we've always had that sort of very laissez-faire attitude, whereby we employ people, people with families, people who need to take time off, but we give them that time off, and they'll give us their time when they can, in different ways. So we're very flexible. So we do employ very good people because they want to work for us, and also because they're all invested as well. So most people in this company are shareholders to some extent. So there's that as well. We also hold on to people a lot as well. So I've been with the company 23 years, as has my fellow directors. One's been with us for 10, another one's been with us for 12, another one's 17. So, that's at the top level. We have people here that have been here for a long time and have really bought into what we're doing. So this isn't just, a get rich quick scheme. This is something that we really passionately believe in what we're doing. I think everyone's bought in as well, which is nice. But I mean, with regards to how we run the company, we do have the learning management system. We have a library of 600 courses. We have the learning generator. We have something called the Everything app, which basically allows you to produce software on anything. And then you can vibe code stuff off it. But to manage all that, to manage 600 courses is a big job. And we do have systems that allow us to do that. So we have systems that are constantly checking the content, and then basically flagging anything that, regulations change. It flags that to us, and we can change the content. We have stuff like, we've got all our own project management software. We've got all our own, all created for us, so we can produce and efficiently produce stuff. I mean, you said before, it seemed like it was impossible to, without AI, to configure stuff, LMSs for people. It wasn't impossible. It wasn't impossible at all. But
It was just tedious.
well, it was tedious, yeah, and it was costly. So, I mean, we had one colleague in Canada that took 9 months to integrate their LMS, because there's a lot of moving parts involved in it. I think that we could safely say we could get down to 3-4 weeks now. Obviously, you need to get buy-in from the client as well. But because we have all these systems on the back end that are automated to, producing run books, build books, functional decompositions, all that sort of stuff, requirements traceability matrix, we have that all in the back end as well. So everything's integrated with the product. It's like total service manager integrated with the product. So when something gets delivered on the product, it gets delivered in your project management software. It gets updated to the client. They have a weekly update. The risk log gets updated. The Gantt chart gets updated. Everything's talking to each other. If you're creating like not just an LMS system, but a whole business system that that integrates together, it means that you can do a lot more with a lot less resources, and that means that we can basically produce. And we're doing a project at the moment for, a local council. It's a small local council, but we're providing the same service that we provide for an international airport. It's exactly the same service, but we can run that now because we're using automation, and we're using back end systems which allow us to just tie everything together, which is really cool. I mean, I think I like it.
Uh-huh. And were you doing this kind of work differently before the AI, before the automations era? Or it was like somehow embedded in your organization from the start?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't created new products. We've basically done is we've augmented the product. So before we had a product called, it's called Jackdaw, and then we relabeled it to OpenAI, and then we relabeled it to OpenELMS Learning Generator to get everything under the OpenELMS banner. And that's it's the same product that it was a web-based authoring system. We've had a web-based authoring system around since it started in 2000. I think it went web-based about 2012, something like that. So that's before Articulate Rise. So we've always had these things. We've always had an LMS. We've always had back-end systems to help us. But once you plug in artificial intelligence into those, it allows you to do a lot more. It allows you to, to market your products, to provide project management, to provide integration help, to provide all the things you need. It superpowers everything. So you can do a lot more. Which basically at the end of the day means large price savings to clients. And it also means we can deliver more as well. We can deliver more to the clients, through use of automated coding and stuff like that. Having said that, you can't vibe code something like a learning management system, but you can certainly vibe code something that approximates it to it. But it will break after about 2-3 weeks. I can guarantee you that.
Have you seen such examples that someone tried?
We tried it. We've had a go. We play around with it all the time, and we do use it to produce back end stuff, not client based stuff, but back end stuff, back end tools and widgets and stuff that we need. And the thing about AI is that the code it will produce, and it's getting better, but the code it produces at the moment is not serviceable from an enterprise perspective. So you need to refactor it. And so basically we do use vibe coding, but then we also use refactoring as well. So nothing is ever pushed through to anything near like a pre-release date until it is refactored by the coders. Also, if you're leaning into AI models change. So we find in our back-end stuff, we'll do something really cool, like like a thumbnail producer for YouTube. And it worked really well. And we just had this yesterday. It works really well. And then suddenly you wake up one day and you look at it and go, "Oh God, that's awful," because the model changes. I think the AI model vendors, particularly OpenAI and Anthropic, maybe to a lesser extent, and Gemini, they produce these models I think ChatGPT is probably more likely, but I don't want to get myself into any legal issues here. But I think generally AI models change. They'll produce a new one and then they'll put less processing power on the old ones, and then sometimes things fall down. So you've got to have, and we have this with all our systems. We have an AI gateway where we can switch our AI to any other model to make it work. And that you need that level of flexibility, and also you need, like, we're doing stuff for various security organizations, and they don't want to use open AI, even though the information is never used to train anything. They just don't want to risk it. So basically, we need to have the ability to host our own AI, and we do that as well. So if you want to host your own AI and have a completely ring-fenced, secure environment, that's something that you need to have as part of your LMS, if your business directs it. But to be honest, I if you're using enterprise systems, if you're using, the Anthropics and particularly the Geminis of the world, then, they're not going to muck around with their Google brand. They're not going to, if you're paying for your AI, they adhere to the fact that they're not going to train any models with it. So, and you can even pay a little bit extra and make sure that your information is ring fenced to a certain geographic location, if that's your issue as well, because obviously there are things about, moving information across borders and stuff like that, particularly with GDPR, that we have to be aware of. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just basically saying, whatever box you need to tick, you can tick it, but I wouldn't worry too much about it if you haven't worried about it yourself.
We got a little bit more technical right now, and that's interesting because from one perspective, you present the ergonomics and like the practical side of the product of the EdTech e-learning platform. And on the other side, you present the technical part, like how you do what you do. And this brings me to the other thing I wanted to ask you. Now we can generate almost any content we'd like for learning purpose or any other, in fact. How is it different? Well, where do you put a line between generating content for lessons, for courses, and designing learning process? That's seems like something that you like. Content generation can be automated, but learning design could not, I think. What's your perspective on that, and where do you differentiate those two things?
Sorry, because what do you mean by learning design? Do you mean the design of learning systems, or do you mean the design of e-learning courses?
Well, both perspectives are interesting to me. More from the content perspective, like the designing the specific lesson or a course.
Okay. I mean, there is AI works in the way that basically it looks at what you're doing, and then it will,
And tries to please you.
given a prompt. Well, it tries to please you, but given a prompt, it will then look at the world of what's been done before and then replicate that in the way you're doing it. Now, you can basically interfere with that by adding some pre-prompting. So basically, what you can do is you can, within the prompt, you can train it to produce e-learning in the way that you want to produce it. Now, we've been producing e-learning for, I've been personally producing learning for 30 years, and 35 years. And what we do is we pre-prompt. So basically we say, this is how we like to design e-learning. This is our house style. And to be honest, there's no special sauce there. You list your learning goals, you put the business interaction, you put knowledge checks in there, you put a quiz at the end, and then you summarize. It's, I'm sure there's a lot of people, learning designers out there, they could be come at me with bales of burning fire on pitchforks. There's other stuff, but learning is designed in a certain way, and we have designed. I mean, I personally designed for Open Elms about 4,500 courses, and I know what works, and we know what works. My head designer's been with me for 17 years. She knows what works. We have that through feedback, through we know what's successful, and our AI is designed to design like that. So the actual learning design is designed with our prompting in those parameters, and it works, and it produces the same e-learning in a structured base that we do. And the thing about artificial intelligence is you can tell it to, like, say you upload a document, say an upload document on, I don't know, computer safety. Now, what you can do is you can say to it, this is our document on computer safety. I'm not sure I know everything about computer safety. This is aimed at, I don't know, new hires in my business. That's, I don't know, we
Software development or
software development, yeah, and new hire software development, and this is to do with computer safety. Please, can you write them a thing? Now, you may think, well, I know, so that's me. I know everything there is to know, and you put your document up there, but then you don't know everything there is to know. So what you can do is you can tell to the system when you're creating this course, you can say, well, I don't want everything just from the course. I'm going to slide it so that use a bit of general knowledge as well. And what it'll do is it'll go out there, it'll look at your industry, it'll look at the content, it'll look at what you've uploaded already, and it'll suggest other learning goals to you. And you'll go, and it's really good. It's really good. It does nail it. And I mean, for instance, in ergonomics, I can do ergonomic courses, and it will say things, and it will look up recent thinking. And so, in the area which I'm a subject matter expert, away from software design, I know it does is really good. And people that are pretending that you need a human being to do that level of research. I mean, I know people that write papers for the government. They're literally government policy is based on these papers, and these papers are researched by ChatGTP. Now, you need that person to then overview everything and go, yeah, that's fine. But if we're still going to pretend that AI is not good enough, it fails when basically you're prompting correctly. And if the prompting is built into the product, then the prompting will be good. And you've always got the ability to redo it or change the sliders as to how much AGI you want and how much of the document you want to use. But I don't know anyone in the world that can produce a systems diagram based on the content, add it to a really attractive, really engaging course, put video on it, put voiceover, add interactive knowledge checks, drag and drop, whatever you want. I don't think they can do that in 10 minutes. And if you don't like it, it's got an editing system and you can edit it and you can change it. But let's stop pretending that, we need everything to be crafted. Let's craft something. So after 10 minutes, you're this way there. And then you spent all your time making it brilliant and engaging, add video to it, upload your own images, use AI to create new background images, add animations, have birds flying through the sky, make it. And there's a serious point to all this sort of stuff, because if you make it engaging and you make it look nice, people aren't going to ghost it. People aren't going to go next. They're going to actually really enjoy it. And we've had courses that people have really enjoyed because people have taken the time to ice the cake. We bake the cake in 10 minutes, then you ice it. And instead of spending all your time making something average, spend all your time making something brilliant. And then you'll get a lot more engagement. And also, if you're producing a lot more content, you can produce content that's relevant to people, not generic slop that you have to buy from various vendors, which isn't really applicable. I mean, my girlfriend, she did a course on home working. And it was, all she really wanted to know was how many days she could work, from home in a month. That's all she wanted to know. And this was just generic stuff like, don't leave your kettle on. Really, that's where we've got to with generic learning. We don't need it anymore. We need to basically create stuff for individual people. So if you're creating a course like in a company like Unilever, for instance, you want to create a different course for factory workers, you want a different course for marketing department, you want a different course, all on the same subject. And you can do that and you can generate that and it will have your branding on it and it will look brilliant. And it'll be far better than stuff you're buying, of course, off the
and
shelf.
the learning results will be better, I guess, as well.
Far better. Far better. From stuff that I've seen on the catalogs, far better.
That's interesting take, because most of the voices I hear around is that AI content generations, it is not that good. It's not as good as people. It's not that good as our best teacher. The best teachers will do better job. From what you're saying, we are just opposing the change. And we are afraid to become obsolete. So
Yeah, I think they're using the wrong tools to start with. I don't think there is a substitute for a face-to-face teacher. But unfortunately, in class sizes of 30 people, you don't have face-to-face teachers, or trainers, and I think we should stop pretending that this stuff is no good in order to it'll just close it. I mean, we basically put our stuff on a site when we first launched it, and some of the vitriol I got from people was just, it was just odd, really odd. But it's this thing of like, it's going to come and take our jobs. No, it's not going to take your jobs. It's going to make you produce a lot more better stuff. So start at the 80% level and then do that extra 20%, and you do it really well. You can spend the same time you did making the whole thing if you wanted to on that 20%, but produce video content, learn video skills, produce animation, make it really good, add pathways, add buttons, do all that stuff, make it really, really good, really engaging, really intuitive. And then, or the other option is to produce a lot more stuff. So produce a lot more custom learning within an organization. So going back to the whole Unilever thing, that example, why produce one course for I don't know, ergonomics, when you can produce a course for every single element of your business with the same thing? At a better standard. But I think there is a fair point in that though, because a lot of the systems I've seen there going back, they say we use AI. It's basically they're just using ChatGPT prompts in order to get content or produce images. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about designing a system from start to finish, or to the 80% level. And to be honest, you could publish it. So, if you're doing a course on general leadership skills, you can publish it. If you're doing something on, I don't know, physics, then yeah, that will need work because the diagrams need to be checked. You need to produce all your own content. But if it's general business skills, it's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. You may want to change an image because I don't know, it doesn't look right, doesn't represent your organization. But yeah, it's yeah. You're going to hear this all the time, and um, as I say, to find the right tools, and then maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you won't, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it won't hurt to have a look.
Hmm. There's a saying that if the only tool you have in your toolbox is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And from what you're saying, I take away that it's more important to design the platform well, the system well, to spend your human experience and apply ergonomics and the way we are learning. Our mind is acquiring knowledge actually, and take care of this part, and the content itself is kind of on the second place of a less importance.
Well, I guess they're both important. If you can't work out how to get the content, then you can't see the content, so it doesn't matter what the content looks like. But then again, most people can get through and see the content, and then if the content's boring, they'll turn off. So I think they're both equally as important. I think they're two things that need to be tackled.
You have to strike the balance.
Yes, you do. You have to strike the balance. And if you don't strike the balance, then yeah, you're going to get the attitude which I see all the time in business, or people, I say to them, what do you do? I say, well, we have an EdTech company, we do e-learning, we do learning management system. They go, oh God, not that. That's really dull. All the time. All the time. It's not like one or two. It's literally every person I speak to. And I would say who doesn't use our stuff, because they tend to be very engaged and, very enthused. But then again, I would say that. But yeah, you get it all the time. And it's soul destroying, really. You just try to do what you can.
Yeah, and where do you see the future of that? Because clearly, from what you're saying, I see a company and you spending a lot of hands-on time building learning experience and courses. Then you react to AI revolution, automation revolution. What do you see next?
I see vibe coding becoming more mainstream. I see people producing their own systems. I see something whereby the traditional model of SaaS is that, you buy a service and you run it forever. I see people, and we ourselves are doing this, giving or selling a system to someone and then saying, you can go ahead and develop it afterwards. It's yours. You maintain it, you run it, you extend it. I certainly know with internal systems, we don't adapt to our software. Our software adapts to us. So we're constantly, our back end systems, we're constantly changing in order to do what we want to. I mean, for instance, I mean, we're doing something at the moment. We're doing it last night, whereby we're producing videos, and we've got video, audio. We have a background. We need to put that in there, and then we need to edit it. So the traditional way of doing that would be to take the video, use some video tool, put a background in, put yourself in, cut it out, send it to something called Descript, which itself uses AI, and edit it. We've vibe coded is a system that does everything. So it takes your audio, it takes your video, it matches them, the background, and then puts it in the right area in the background. It then adds that, it then APIs that to Descript, and then you can download it from Descript. So basically, we're taking that process, which would have taken, I don't know, an hour to do, well, maybe 2 hours to do. It now can be done in 10 minutes because we now automated it through APIs and AI. Um, so so yeah, there's a lot of things which I think that would be advantageous if people, we call it a SaaS model, software as a service, software as an AI service. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking the software as a service, and then you're running with it. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. And I think, IT is going to go away from programming to business analysis. I mean, certainly all our programmers in the company are now being trained to be business analysts, trained to think analytically, and not necessarily. I mean, they still refactor code, but they're being trained to look at solutions, and then vibe code those solutions, and then actually write the prompts to do those solutions before they then get to the coding. So they're becoming much more savvy in design and business analysis. Obviously, all under the direction of the product director, but it's something that we're definitely moving towards. And I think there'll be a big thing into that. With regards to the actual e-learning content, good God. I hope it's going to be better than this vertical scrolling nonsense that we've all got at the moment. Uh, I would just say, if you're an e-learning designer out there, just have a look around, see what is around there, um, that can be different. And there's this belief that because you're using like Articulate Rise, it's the only thing you can use. It's not. It's basically XML. You can even edit it in a text editor. There's nothing there you won't find on a website. And any website transitions and stuff, it's all the bloody same. So don't feel you need to spend the amount of money you're spending on that product. You can break the chains and use something else. And if you don't like it, you can always go back. It will still be there. It will still be there, and it will be exactly the same as you left it. I can promise you that.
This is interesting perspective, and you mentioned how how this vibe coding revolution applies to your workflow, and how does it change your business model, or maybe more well, in particular in your case, but how does it apply to the model of every edtech solution you have on the market? Like if basically every school could vibe code its own solution, like in Fortnite. What does it break and what does it build?
That will come eventually. We use AI to check and to test our software, and I think once people knock onto that, then eventually people will be building their own learning management systems. I think enterprise clients are not going to want to take the risk, at least for 10 years, of doing that themselves. They're just risk averse, and we've seen that basically in the products that are purchased. I don't think they're going to take the risk to do that. So I think, that is going to hit the mainstream a long time. But I think people will start doing that. I would say if you are going to do that, make sure you've got a lot of time in your hands to fix it afterwards, because it will break, and you will need to fix it.
And make sure that you have a enormous legal advisors as well.
Probably, yeah. If you're rolling out to anyone other than yourself, then yes, you certainly would. You certainly would do. I think it's going to happen. I'm not going to say it's never going to get there, because I think that would be extremely arrogant of me. In the same way, I would say, AI can't produce decent e-learning. It would be extremely arrogant of me to say that. And it will eventually get there. But I think there's always going to be a place for people to assist, because I think you can give someone a paintbrush and easel, but it doesn't make them an artist. And I believe that you need business analysis in order to, let's just say I sat here, I worked for a school, and I've created my own learning management system, a very basic learning management system, fantastic. That could be done at a push, yes, but then you've got to fix it. And then how are you going to extend it? How are you going to add new features? We do this all the time. We're constantly adding new features, new functionality, and it's great, but it's done in a very structured format. If you're going to build vibe, I mean, my IT director, he hates me vibe coding because he's got to clean up the mess afterwards, and he he keeps on stopping me doing it. So I'm not allowed. No, I don't do it on our LMS product. I do it in the back end.
That's an important disclaimer.
Yeah, no, completely. I think it's so important because if you're producing back-end systems, you need to be really dynamic, and you can't then send it to a designer and then send it to a program. You've got to be able to change things yourself. So I think there's a huge advantage with bringing software as a service to software as an AI service and doing stuff yourself. But having said that, I would not advise anyone to do that just yet, unless they have a very firm architecture and a lot of resources, business analysis and stuff, in order to maintain it, and programmers to factor the code and stuff like that. So I do see that becoming certainly people developing their own systems in the future. I see hopefully learning becoming more dynamic and less of the scrolly stuff. With regards to new technologies, VR, forget it, gives you a headache. AR, forget it, gives you a headache. There are buzzwords that come up and down, but I think the only thing that's really going to change things in this industry is AI, and that is massive. And it's certainly changing the cost of things, and the cost to us and the cost to our clients.
But I don't quite hear how does it affect the business model. In fact, how do you change your service, your products, or how EdTech solutions should react to that?
Well, I mean, as I say, we change it because we can either sell a software as a service or software as an AI service, and a software as an AI service gives the support over to the client rather than to us. So they can basically start vibe coding their own solutions, their own fixes, their own tweaks themselves based upon our software code. Now, that hasn't happened yet, but within the LMS, but we certainly have a general everything app that does that. So basically, we would give all the code to a client, and they can go off and develop whatever they want to. And this system does design, project management, production, sales and marketing, finance, everything.
I must say that I completely agree with you. I can see, from the software development point of view, I can see a rise of low-code platforms, low-code, no-code platforms, things where you can manipulate yourself and create maybe even some technical experiences needed to build the solution at the beginning or to configure it to start with. But after that, you, as a client or as a recipient of the tool, you're able to manipulate with it. You can change it. You adjust it to your needs, to your changing needs. You personalize it yourself, not automatically, maybe necessarily. So from what you're saying, you perceive a similar future for LMS platforms as well, or EdTech products, right? And where you have kind of a core product which you you service, but on top of that, your clients can build up to their own needs, right?
Yeah, precisely. And I think there'll be levels of that. So there'll be, as you've described, a system which is locked down, but then you can build stuff on top of it, or there'll be stuff where you can actually edit everything yourself. It's a form of paid for open source. So basically, you get the code, and then you can twist it and mix it and do whatever you want to it. I think that's the way it's going to go. And I think people, companies like myself will be earning money through consultancy based on the platform, rather than through selling software. So the same way that the music industry doesn't sell albums anymore, they sell concert tickets. It'll be the same sort of thing. It'll be more of a service based than a product based.
And do you think this will make learning more democratize learning, more approachable, more affordable, maybe?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, with regards to learning content, that's the big thing for us. Our personal goal is to bring really high quality learning content out to places. So basically, we've got a debt to these people. We've been taking all their stuff for the last 300 years in the British Empire. So I think we do owe something back. And I personally, we want to and we are producing low cost, high quality educational content for schools that can be accessed for a fraction of the price that you would get in the UK. So we've done around 3,000 hours of Ghanaian education content with video presenters, voiceovers, all these sort of things available in an app. And this stuff is only possible through AI, and obviously with human checkers and AI checking as well, and all that sort of stuff, and human addition to it. But it's really high quality learning content. That I mean, places like Ghana, for instance, they spend half their time, the kids, not at school because they have this agrarian um, economy where it's expected that the children then go back to the fields, work in the fields, and then they go back to school and have these boarding schools which you have to go to. They have that huge period of time now because society is changing. A lot of people in cities now, and they're not going off to farms and working. It's becoming there's becoming a massive middle class, and it's a thriving economy. But they need ability to teach children within this old education structure. So there's a big opening there for providing high quality learning content that's really engaging. So basically, we have an app that it's called Learn Yak, and it produces. We've done it for GCSEs as well. And it produces e-learning content, video. Stuff like this, arcade games, mind maps, all from the same content. And we produce a massive amount of content from Ghanaian religion to, GCSE chemistry or whatever. So basically, yeah, we've got a lot of stuff out there that we're trying to benefit the wider world, particularly where to go into Africa. So if there's any, NGOs out there looking for some good solutions, come and talk to us.
I know that you recently been to Africa, so I guess that's the place or experience where you got this the perspective change. But I wanted to dig a little bit deeper on this change. What you've seen that challenged your previous assumption and what do you think European EdTech still doesn't fully understand about the African market or Africa in education in general?
Yeah, I mean, the African market's very mobile based. Internet can be very good or it can be very bad. Particularly, I'm talking about my limited experience in Ghana and Morocco. So basically, yeah, you got this variance in connectivity. So you need to have offline solutions. You need to have the ability to create playlists and run those on your phone. You need an app that basically will work with the infrastructure. There's no real realization of the size of the scale of the market out there in Africa. It is very big. It's costly to get to. I understand that it's costly to get to, but it is a big opportunity. It's going to be the only area of the world where populations will be growing over the next 50, 60 years. They have a burgeoning middle class. There's huge success stories in Africa. I think it's not something that is unique to education though. It's the perception of Africa. It's an amazing country. It's an amazing continent, should I say? I'm sounding American. It's an amazing continent. And it's I think go there, go have a look. Just the vibrance of the place is amazing. I mean, I was in South Africa last year, and that country is incredible, absolutely incredible. People there are lovely. They're so nice. The poverty there, the dichotomy is terrible. And the wealth is amazing as well. It's just and I think, if we can get educated, and this is why that was where I was first inspired. If we can get education there to level things up, if everyone there, white and black, can have the same education, then they got the same start in life in many ways, not every way by a long way, but they've got a chance. They've got a chance. They can go to the right places. They can rise. They can get out of the townships. Maybe they like to be in the townships. I don't know, but it's a tough life. It's a bloody tough life for these people, and I think education can lift everyone up. And we're living in a global world now. Why can't we give some of our call center jobs to Durban, or why can't we give offshoring to Africa rather than always to the same old countries. It's raised India up. India is a thriving economy. Why can't we do the same to Africa? We've got a massive amount of English-speaking people who are really intelligent, excellent customer service, lovely people. Why don't we give them an opportunity? I think South Africa is particularly is just why doesn't Europe use use experiences in the right to own everything?
I will ask you an unpopular question, maybe controversial even. Why, maybe this is from a colonial perspective, that you should do something about that. Should you even bother about that? Sorry for putting this so bluntly, but why should you bother? Why don't leave them to themselves?
Why should we do something about it? I don't know. My background is my mother was in the Holocaust and she survived, thank God for it, and she's all okay. And she came to England, and England has been a great country for us. It's been fantastic. We've thrived, we've done well, we've created businesses. Um, you know, we know what it's like to be uplifted when you need to be uplifted. As 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 a family. And I think when you see inequality and you see injustice in the world. I'm not saying, this is look at me, I'm waving a flag. I'm not doing anything really. It's a drop in the water. But I think we all have a duty to try to do our best in the world. And I'm comfortable. I don't need a lot of money. I'm fine. Um, why not give some of that what you can do? Why not give some of that and give something back and make the world a little bit of a better place if you can? And I think with all the injustice in the world, all the horrible things going on, if we can make it a little bit better and set an example to those idiots in power, then perhaps we can make the world a better place.
That's an interesting point. I didn't suppose that we will like veer into this sphere in this conversation, but it's truly interesting. That brings us to the end of this conversation, sadly, because I had like a dozen or so more questions to ask to you, but we came to the 1 hour limit that we set for ourselves, so we have to finish. Thank you for this voice. I love how you express your inner culture in your company and how it helps to build new product, how to react to market changes, and how it affects the learning outcomes in the end for the students and learners. That's very, I will say, rare. It's not often heard, at least from my perspective. Then I love your perspective on the future and how vibe coding will be changing this world, and how vibe coding will change the team's work, coding experience, and the business model. That's very interesting. And in the end, I really think it's an interesting voice of a man with a mission when you speak about education in general and Africa in particular. And that brings me a lot of hope to my heart. So thank you for this conversation.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you so much. My guest and your guest was Emil Weston. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.